Captivating your attention from the first frames is, or should be, a director's major consideration when he embarks on a movie shoot. And those early scenes should start to hook you to keep watching, be alert, and wanting to hear all the detail of the script as the story unravels. The Outrage does just that as soon as we meet these three completely different characters waiting for a train at a desolate hut just outside Silver Gulch, a small town in southwestern the United States near the border. The time is probably just after the Civil War. From the outset, it's important also to note that this is a remake of the classic Kurosawa Rashomon. For the cinema purist, that movie, I haven't seen the Japanese film, but it's regarded as a classic. I'll try and check that out after being hooked by this Martin Ritt version. The three characters: a preacher played by a very young William Shatner, a prospector played by Howard Da Silva, and an aging con artist played by the legendary Edward G. Robinson, start to talk about a trial taking place in the nearby town. Robinson, being a fascinated listener, whose insight into the psychology of why people say what they say is summed up with his comment: "You tell people what they want to hear." He tells it scornfully after a session of truth-seeking. In fact, Robinson immediately captures the tone of the movie. His cunning, his jokish manner, and his whole persona make you, the viewer, know this is going to be an amusing ride, dissecting the ingredients of the evidence submitted at the trial of one Juan Carrasco, played by Newman. This is what was heard earlier in the makeshift court setting, out on a dusty road with the accused handcuffed to a tree stump. Oh, and the charge is rape and murder. We learn the prospector had found the body of the husband, played by Lawrence Hardy, and he then, with some input from the preacher, also present at the hearing, recalls the evidence of what took place from Carrasco, the wife, and an Indian who by chance came upon the dying man. As the tale is told to the con artist, he provides questions, theories, and observations on the psychology of how human beings tend to impart versions of events that maximise their value in terms of attention and minimise their complicity in what actually happened. The prospector tells of finding the body and alerting the law, who captured Carrasco sleeping under a tree. Carrasco then shares his version. Newman, just a way of offering 100% to his characters, does the same here. And he fits the picture perfectly. His Mexican accent is reliable. He looks like a rascal, an outlaw, complete with thick moustache, shortish mattish hair, jangling spurs, and the sombrero, of course. And his words echo that image, emphasising his macho ego that only kills to survive and is easily roused where beauty is on display and available. The prospector then moves on to the couple in the horse-drawn carriage, and Carrasco relates that this attracted his eye. He then sees an opportunity to make some cash with a hand-cut Aztec dagger for sale, but after getting the husband alone, decides to tie him up and relieve him of cash in his wallet, and then is roused by a photo of the wife and switches his attention to her. After a skirmish, he disarms her and the animalism takes over, and the feeling is somewhat reciprocated by the wife in view of the husband. The wife, then aware of her dishonour in full view, suggests a duel for her between the two amorous combatants. As he talks, Carrasco, we view the action, and the director emphasises close-ups of the protagonists. The con artist is in uproar at this account, knowing Carrasco's reputations. Magical moments in this story retold. Carrasco's recall emphasises the machoism. Here, Rit takes an opportunity to add action to the melodrama, and it's a touch amusing, probably unlike Kurosawa's original. Carrasco concludes that the fight ended in his favour, and in effect, using self-defence as his justification to enhance his own reputation as a tough guy. As for the wife, his view was that she had fled, and so to the wife's account. She at the hearing delivered a version of one anaesthetised by the events, wishing to be seen by all as a righteous, meek, loving soul. She contends that she was chosen by her husband, a man from an influential family, and she from less affluent beginnings, and that she submitted to Carrasco's lustful assault in fear and viewed him as an animal. Her concern was with her husband, and released him and begged his forgiveness as to what he may have perceived on viewing her with the bandit. The scene with Harvey and Bloom at this stage is captured by Rich again in close-up with the eyes, the sense of betrayal, the false innocence. Also, she describes a sense of liberation by the experience. Hardly a rape, as she can cast off the shackles of slavery. Strong stuff indeed. His deadly science provokes a retaliatory response that I'm sure you can guess. So to the Indian, a medicine man, probably, but steeped in ritual and superstition, then recalls what he heard the husband tell as his dying breath. At this point, I reminded myself of our own experiences of courtroom dramas more recently, when a curious array of characters achieved their 5 minutes of fame, to quote Andy Warhol. And this cynicism took over for me when the prospector recalled the Indian's input. He paints a picture of the wife's desire to be Carrasco's woman, to be free of religious morality, and her plea to kill her husband. But Carrasco releases the husband and receives the wrath of the wife for rejecting her offer. The husband, destroyed emotionally at the betrayal, takes the honourable way out. Harvey's character is less impactful on this script, and this recall epitomised a man short on strength of character. Having completed the third version, we are then experienced to a further debate with the three at the train station, and Robinson exposes the prospector's certainty of the Indian's lies as an indicator of a further chapter in the tale, and the preacher lands a few verbal punches to support the notion that all three lied, which leads to the prospector unearthing his own version, which clarifies he witnessed it all before alerting the law. Bear in mind that he didn't deliver his version to the court, only that he found the dead man. A picture is painted of Carrasco's deep desire to start a new chapter with Bloom, to throw off the old shackles of deviance, to provide for the woman with honest brokerage, not defiant acts. Newman is brilliant in this phase as he shows off his sincerity that stinks of suspicion, but maybe a hint of weariness of being, as he is, a loner, a taker, a beast, and now a salesman. It exposes his lack of social skills with women, for sure, and how the wife is holding all the cards. For any men who have experienced this plea to the girl to reciprocate that feeling, this scene will act as a harrowing reminder. The pair enact a scene of pretense riddled with false desire. Rick then explores play through hide-and-seek, a metaphor for the chaser and the chased, much like attempts at courtship beginnings. And then she unties her husband, passes him the gun. It's hilarious as the two men discuss the value of fighting for a woman full of deviance and deceit. The husband illuminates us of previous indiscretions of this charlatan, as they both seek to reclaim their egos that have been tarnished. The wife responds in kind, denigrating both men's misogynist views, and her husband's cowardice in the Civil War is brought up. Plus a dig at Carrasco's so-called amorous performance. It's all juicy stuff, very much seen in divorce proceedings all over the developed world. The wife has successfully manipulated both men into their respective corners and then awaits the duel with a sigh of relish. For me, I was reminded of the duel in Love and Death, the Woody Allen masterpiece. As the shenanigans begin, it becomes a comedic spectacle that leads to an all-action romp with both parties trying to outwit each other, but ends in a farcical accident. A last call on the three at the station as the con man philosophises about human psychology. Robinson hints at his aloofness to a religious